Hotapu everyone, this is His Majesty Ra Smabafakbemi, the world's first openly African black gay pharaoh. And the role of a pharaoh is to nourish and to protect his people. And today I wish to discuss a bit about the chakras, and particularly the throat chakra, the fifth chakra of the famous chakras within the body's trunk and head. So, the first thing to know about the chakras is that the Africans of Kemet knew them very well. There's a whole chapter in the Book of the Dead, what I call the Book of Awakening God Within, where there are these seven aritu, these seven chambers, and they are the chakras. And there are many words in Rinkam in Egyptian that refer to chakras. One is karakara. Karakara means something round, something that spins, a circle. It means a shrine. The word chakra means a wheel. Karakara means in Egyptian a wheel or circle, a shrine, or something that contains deities. There's also the word chesu or chasu, which means a knot, a vertebra of the spine, a place where gods reside, the gods that awaken the dead. These are the knots along the spine. So there are many words in ancient Rinkam that correlate to these chakra concepts. So I wish to discuss a key thing about the chakras. Here we have the throat chakra, okay? And this chakra is very special. So in my chakra training, I divide these seven main chakras, which are from the root in red here to this kind of white purplish crown chakra. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the seven major ones. There are many more than seven, but today we'll focus on the seven major ones. The bottom three, red, yellow, red, orange, yellow here, are considered the set chakras, the egotistical chakras. 4 and 5, green and blue, are considered the Heru, or the heroic chakras. 6 and 7 are considered the divine chakras. So we have three chakras down here, red, orange, yellow, which are very egocentric. Green and blue, which are very group-oriented. And third eye and crown, which are completely holistic and universally oriented. The throat chakra here, this blue center, is a very unique chakra. The chakra's power is to purify all the chakras beneath it. So it purifies chakras 1, 2, 3, 4. So chakra 1 can be called survival. Chakra 2 can be called sensations. 3 can be called power. And 4 could be called love. So you have security, sensations, power drive, love and compassion drive. Okay? And the throat chakra is the purifier of your survival behavior, your passions, your ego. The third chakra is about doing things in the outer world, accomplishments, and with your compassion. Many people have traumas due to physical trauma in the root chakra, emotional trauma in the second chakra, project trauma, the trauma that you had from doing external things in the third chakra, and relationship trauma, problems with love, and particularly the heart chakra deals with social acceptance, social understanding, social love, love by the group, love by the community, all that deals with that chakra. Okay? Now the throat chakra controls an element. The root chakra controls earth, which is your money and health. The water chakra, number 2, controls water, which is the way you interact with people, your exchange of emotions between you and others, mostly on a one-to-one basis. The third chakra controls the fire element of external success, accomplishment, and winning in the world, being somebody in the world. The heart chakra controls the air element, which is sociability and how society and you interact. But the throat chakra deals with what's called the ether element, the Akash element, or the fifth element, because it's the one, two, three, fourth, fifth chakra. Let's discuss this fifth element very briefly. So the word Akash or ether symbolizes space itself. Very few people are aware of the power of space in their lives. We say this chakra deals with the spaces that you are in and that are within you. So there are certain different levels of space the chakra focuses on. First, it focuses on your internal space, the ether within. There are two kinds of internal ether. There is the space within you where your cells and internal molecules and organs exist. Is the field of space in which your organs and cells sit, is that field pure? Or is the energy of that internal space corrupted? The other internal space, internal akash, internal ether, would be your thoughts slash feelings space. We call your emotional thought sphere. Is your internal space of thinking, the thoughts you have in your inner space, the emotions you have in your inner space, are those thoughts pure? Are they clean? Are they constructive? Are those emotions clean? Are they fresh? Are they healthy? So, if you have poor internal physiological space, or poor internal psychic space, the throat chakra can cleanse that so your body organs and cells have a better field of health. The space they're in is a positive space. Okay? And then your emotional space can also be purified. Many people try to purify their emotions and thoughts without purifying the space in which the emotions and thoughts sit. You don't want to purify your negative thinking if it's sitting in a negative space within you. You don't want to add positive thinking into a negative space, a negative ether within your subconscious. That's why the fifth element of ether is considered separate and powerful. Okay? The other ether is your external space, which are mainly two types. Your living environment, one could say the feng shui of your house. And the other space would be your neighborhood, the social class and feng shui of your neighborhood, your town or your city. So you have to make sure that your inner home space, where you live every day, that the space itself is purified. So when you buy a new couch, a new chair, a new bouquet of flowers, they're put into a positive field of space, and you're putting positive flowers, positive couches, things that make you feel good. But think if the space itself is sour. The space would be the feng shui of the actual home structure, the shape of the home structure. If that is harmful, what's called sha qi or dangerous qi, bad ashe, okay? No matter what kind of beautiful things you put in there, there'll always be this kind of vibe, this aura of bad luck in that space. Okay? Now, even if you have a beautiful home, but it's in a rotten neighborhood, meaning your neighborhood space is not clean and pure, that will affect your house's inner space, how you feel inside of your home. It'll affect how you feel emotionally in your own mind. It'll affect how your cells feel safe or not in your body. So you see, there are these kind of nested eggs of ether, of akash, of space that you must deal with. The throat chakra helps those spaces. It will draw you to a beautiful home whose feng shui, whose organic feng shui is constructive and positive in a beautiful neighborhood, a beautiful town or city. So the throat chakra is very key when you're looking for a home or looking to move somewhere. You want to make sure the throat chakra is very powerful, very active. So you're not drawn to a house that was top of a burial site, or murders happened in there, or domestic violence happened there. You don't want that vibe, that space to be where you are. The next level of space or ether you have to deal with is what's called historical space. This deals with the kind of ashe, the kind of chi that surrounds your nation, the zeitgeist, and the historical moment you're born in. For example, you don't want to be born during a world war, in the space of time where world wars tend to be spawned. We all happen to be born in recent, or lived through in recent years, in a space of COVID, where we all had to, on a global scale, deal with a virus, a very serious virus. We were all born in that ether where that could occur. You see? So if you happen to be born in an ether of a world war or of a plague, you want to make sure your inner smaller spaces are healthy. For example, your cellular, intracellular space, inter and intracellular, your interorgan and intra-organ space, that they're strong and resilient and can repel and bounce off bacteria and viruses and mold and parasites, that kind of thing. You see, if you take a lot of supplements and you exercise, but your inner space is weak, your throat chakra is weak. The planet of this chakra is Jupiter in your chart. And I'm going over this particular chakra because right now Jupiter is retrograde. Today is November 10th, 2022. And Jupiter is retrograde in Pisces, its own sign of the fish. So it's strong but retrograde. Going inwardly. Retrograde means going backwards or inwardly. And I wanted to discuss the throat chakra's planetary lord Jupiter and us going into an investigation of our inner space and the spaces that we are retreating into, retrograding into in our lives. Of the historical space, there's the history of your nation that you're born into. You want to be careful when you reincarnate that you don't pick a time of history where there's some mass tragedy that you must be pulled into, like a whirlpool strained tractor. Then there's what's called cosmic space. That is the space of the supergalactic center and all the galaxies around it. It's very high-level astrological space. These are epochs of the planet, basically, epochs of the solar system. Of course, it won't be for billions of years, but you don't want to be born in the space when the sun's going to explode. Or you don't want to be born during a space when a meteor is going to hit over your town. These kind of supra-terrestrial events you should be aware of. I don't want to be in the negative cosmic event space. So we had different kinds of ether, different kinds of akash. We had inner akash, which had two levels, your inner cellular level of the inner space of your in and around your cells, and your mental, psychological, emotional inner space. Then you had two kinds of outer space, or space outside of you. That's your living space and your city space. Then you had historical spaces, which is the national karma of your nation, and the cosmological space of cosmological events. Okay? Now, we discussed three levels: internal, immediate environmental, and historical. In each of those three, there were two divisions. Okay? So that's three, but each of the three have two. It's 2, 4, 6. 6 kinds of space. Okay? There is another kind of space that the Akasha deals with. It's the space of your past, the space of your future. The other ones we discussed, the internal space, the environmental space, and the historical spaces, those are all more or less your present, where you're going to live, so it's already accounted for. But the Akash can also affect your past, because when you did something in the past, the Earth and the Sun and the Moon and all the planets were in a certain space around the galactic center, a certain space in the solar system. And as the Sun and the entire solar system is moving, the memory of the events that happened on Earth when it was back in that space when you did that, a million miles ago, when the Earth was a million miles away from where it is now. And that space imprinted all the events of the Earth that happened in that space. Then the Earth moved with the solar system, and it will move thousands and millions of miles around. So this space, this Akashic field, this Akashic record, is holding the imprints of all the events that happened when the Earth was moving through various spaces in its trajectory with the solar system. So the Akash can go back to when the Earth was a million miles back from where it is today, on the day in which you did something, and can alter the space in which the event happened. Okay? To give you an example of how space matters, imagine you're on a highway and you're driving and there's a cop car behind you. The cop car is in a space behind you versus the cop car in front of you. You see how the space of the cop car affects your mind, your emotions, how you feel inside the space of your car, how the car drives through the space of the road. You see, the location, the space that the cop's car is in affects you in many, many ways. So that's what Akash is. Where a thing is located in space can really impact you in ways you may not even be aware. But the throat chakra is very aware of it. Okay? So when we work with, in Black India, in Dravidian India, this chakra is called Vishuddha. Vishuddha. Or Vishuddhi. V means poison. Shu means empty or zero or space. And Vishuddhi, the word Dahi means something like mind, in consciousness, intelligence. Vishuddhi. So empty the mind poisons. It empties the mind poisons, this chakra. When you awaken this chakra properly, it begins to send rays to the red, orange, yellow, and green chakras beneath it. It sends this kind of hard to describe, this kind of this force field of space or something that purifies your heart, purifies your navel, purifies your sexual center, purifies your root chakra, and removes the mind poisons in those lower chakras. Once you begin to purify the lower chakras then it is safe to begin to awaken the root chakra, awaken the sexual chakra, awaken the navel chakra, awaken the heart chakra. You don't want to awaken chakras that are filled with serpent nests, right? You want to get all the nests, the serpents out, the spiders out, the creepy crawlers out of the chakras before you move in there. You don't want to move into a creepy crawler kind of house. So most people don't understand how to work with the chakras because they haven't really done them. They've not actually experienced working on the chakras. They read a book, a workshop, a YouTube video, a class, and they think they know how these things work. But I tell you, you do not want to awaken your root chakra or even your heart chakra if it's filled with traumas and heartbreaks and wounds and pains and snakes and serpents and venom and jealousy. Don't open it. Because if you do, there can be very, very harmful consequences to you. So the fifth element, people say you must raise Kundalini from the bottom root, the red one, up to the purple. But I tell you, that's not wise. You want to, if you're going to deal with these 7 chakras, you want to open 6, which is the third eye, and 5, the throat, first. I won't go into 6 right now, but you want to, 6 gives you the grace of God to face what you must face. It gives you the psychological stamina. We call Osar, the eye of Osar. The psychological and mental strength to face the monsters, the demons, all the hurt you've gone through. You need the mental fortitude to face that happened to you, that you went through that horrible experience. And you have to face it calmly. So the third eye helps you to face it like a mummy. Osar is a mummified deity. To face your wounds, your traumas, your demons from a place of peace, like watching a movie screen, not being in the movie, but observing it with popcorn. It also gives you the understanding of the message, the lesson behind the trauma. There's a lesson, what I call a cornucopia, a you've learned something moment, an aha moment in all of your trauma and behind the demons that haunt you. And you need to have that throat chakra opened, which will help to sterilize, purify, and sweep out the cobwebs, the creepy crawlers in the lower 4 chakras, red, orange, yellow, green. Once you have the 6th chakra open to some degree and the 5th chakra very well activated, then you raise the Kundalini from red, 1st chakra, to orange, 2nd chakra, to yellow, 3rd chakra, to green, 4th chakra. Okay? So, this throat chakra removes the mental poisons, meaning all the negative thinking, all the negative imprints, all the negative memories you have from your life's blows, your life's traumas, your life's hurts. I'm trying to make chakras, which has been the most challenging part of my work, is to decode the chakras, because I've decoded the zodiac, I've decoded the tree of life, I've decoded Ifa, and Ifa Oracle of Nigeria, and I've decoded the I Ching. But there's a reason why I was able to do those things. They're very geometrically structured. For example, the zodiac is a geometry wheel. It's a circle with geometry vectors in it. The tree of life is very geometric. Okay? The I Ching has a very geometric structure to it. It's an 8x8 grid with 6 lines per unit, etc. Ifa is very structured. It's a 4-unit stroke in a 16-unit grid. So I was able to come at those systems from a structural, almost architectural view. But there's no structure of the chakras. It's kind of a line, but there's not much to it geometrically. So it took me longer to be able to decode how they work. And I had to do a lot of personal work, personal sacrifice, personal experimentation to figure this out. Okay? But to my delight, I feel that the chakras are the most important thing to get right first. It's the last thing I've decoded in my career. Yet it's the first thing as an initiator student you need to learn in order to understand your astrology chart, your tree of life, or your oracle readings. Okay? Because the chakras are the mother of all those other systems. Okay? All right, so make sure the throat chakra is active and flowing and radiant. These are 7 lights inside of you. The throat light sends light down to 4, 3, 2, and 1, purifying, sterilizing it. Once it's been cleaned up, decobwebbed, and power washed by the throat chakra, you can then awaken each of the 4 lower chakras one by one. You'll have a much better experience visiting the traumas to your physical body and making them into strengths, the traumas to your sexuality and sexual activity, and turn those into strengths. That's the second chakra. The problems in your failures in projects, third chakra, and turn those into victories. And the problems in your sociability skills and how the world relates to you, and turn those gossips and those rumors and those ostracizations into luck. Okay? Now, in the Kamal system, this is the image of the 5th chakra. Here we have an image of 2 gods and a pharaoh kneeling. On the left, you have the ibis-headed bird man. His name is Tehuti, with the moon disk on his head. On the right, you have the goddess Sesheta, or Sefkat Abut, who is a goddess of learning, knowledge, and initiation. So these are 2 knowledge deities. They are brother and sister. Okay? And in the middle, we have this tree-like tendril form here. And we have the pharaoh kneeling on a glyph, a kind of semicircle glyph, which means gold. He's kneeling upon the word Nub, which means gold. This is the African Kamal image of your throat chakra. Okay? Let's analyze a bit this image. First of all, look at the branches of that tree bush type thing. It resembles a few things in your body. It's very similar to a few things in your body. Mostly the tongue. The throat chakra is the chakra of speech, language. Tehuti is the god of language. They say he invented language. And Sesheta is, in the yellow, she's the goddess of books and knowledge, which is speech written down. So already we're seeing this tableau really with the tongue, and a leaf is often called a tongue. You can call a leaf a tongue of the plant. Okay, a tongue of basil, for example. Also, this bush resembles a woman's placenta. The placenta, about birthing. Okay, the afterbirth of the placenta. This implies that speech births things. It leaves an afterbirth. It leaves an effect. Words have power. Words have effect. Words can do things to people and to things in the universe. And it also resembles a lung, because how can you speak without air? So it's a multivalent image, and we see here the pharaoh, which would be the 6th sphere of the tree of life, Heru, or the sign Leo, the hero in you. Here, the hero, the achiever, the doer, is kneeling on gold. So the throat chakra is about you being humble He's facing Tehuti and surrounded by his sister Sesheta. Tehuti is the oracle, the book of wisdom, the Ifa oracle, the Yijing oracle, our oracle of Ra. The hero here in the fifth chakra wants gold, wants success. He's kneeling upon gold itself. He wants wealth and success, power and prosperity, all good fortune. It's saying, though, to get good fortune, golden fortune, you must kneel, meaning humble your speech. You must be careful how you speak. Don't speak from a standing up position, meaning just reactive and assertive. Think before you use that tongue. Okay? And before you use your tongue, consult the oracle, Tehuti, and consult the cosmology books of wisdom of Sesheta before you speak. It's a profound, profound image of the throat chakra. Okay? And in the Hindu system, here, let's see here, this is the throat chakra. It has, besides the crown chakra, but the crown chakra is not really what you think it is as a chakra. You really only have 6 chakras and a repository. The crown chakra is really a repository of the events of the 6 chakras below it. It's like a computer chip that holds all the data. Okay, so not counting the 1,000-petal lotus of the crown, of the main chakras, the 6th chakra has the most petals, 16 petals, 16 leaves, right? And here we see an abundance of leaves. This idea of many, many leaves has cut across both cultures of the blacks of South India, Dravidia, and the Dalits, as well as the Kamau of North Africa. Okay? Now, when you speak, you should speak kneeling, meaning controlled speech. Make sure your speech is kneeling upon the golden words, the wording, the explanation that brings the greatest gold out of the scenario, and that this moment of golden speech is informed by the oracles telling you what to say and do, as well as Sesheta's books of wisdom of the cosmology, we call the Pa'ut, and what your initiations taught you. Okay? Note they're writing, Sesheta is writing in the tree on the leaves. Okay? She's recording karmas. Okay? And you want to have a fruitful tree. Okay? An abundant tree, meaning abundant outgrowths from your words. Your words should create fertility, should create growth, and not destruction and the bleaking of the world. Okay? Tehuti has on his head a moon. The moon. Why? In India, it is said the third chakra has as its symbol a crescent moon. A crescent moon. The moon symbolizes receptivity. Receptivity to a higher light, because the moon reflects the sun. The oracles are the light of Ra. For the word Ra can mean the spear of the sun, or speech. It can also mean the chapters of a book, but particularly an oracular book, but any book. Okay? And Sesheta's crown represents what's called a merket, a tool for measuring, surveying between land points and stars. It's called a merket. So she's very measured. And she measures where she is in relation to where a star is in the sky, meaning you want to speak according to the measures of your transits in your chart, in accordance with the movements and positions of the sky at the moment of you speaking. For example, if Sepku Mercury is quincunxing Mars, that makes for very violent, harsh speech tendencies. So the pharaoh, the hero in you, the adult in you, kneels, says, wait a minute. Right now in heaven, says, Shetta tells me, when I survey where the planets are in relation to me, well, the god of speech is conjunct the god of war. So perhaps I should kneel and accept that that's what's happening, and to get the golden potential out of that moment of warring speech, I will not speak war in a warring way. I will kneel and submit to speaking in a direct way, but in a way that makes a golden result, a fertile, flowery result. And I will ask the oracle to give me more, to the oracle to give me more information on how to speak. Now, if you follow this model, you put this image in your throat, there are certain sounds. You see, these images here are how you purify your body, root chakra, your sexuality, second chakra, your failures, third chakra, and your social problems, fourth chakra. You've got to be able to kneel, humbly look at what you're going through, find the gold in what you went through, ask the oracle about it, and relate the problem you have to the books of wisdom and the Pa'ut cosmologics. Because Sesheta in her yellow says, your experience is part of a larger picture, maybe of your family karma, of your clan karma, of your racial karma, of your gender's karma, of your nation's karma. You're part of a larger pattern, a larger storyline that's already been written on the leaves of this plant. Okay? So, when you follow this technique of this mandala, of this diagram here, and you invoke the sounds of the throat chakra, okay, and I'll be planning to do very soon, maybe towards the winter this year, solstice, we'll see, my more advanced chakra classes. I do have chakra classes on my website now. Just go to kingrosmamba.com and go to classes, and you'll see chakra classes. Those are very, very involved classes. They're easy to follow, and it's very, very detailed. But we don't go through the sounds yet, because you have to learn the Sefkarabut, the Sesheta yellow part, this yellow goddess first, kind of how they're structured and what they do before you wake them up. But soon I'll be introducing a new class. It may be this year, next year, I'm not sure yet, on really invoking those chakras. Because most of your problems in life come from trauma, either low-grade trauma or high-grade trauma. Bullying, being bullied in school, being insulted, hurt feelings, heartbreak, abandonment issues, your mother or father weren't there, or they died and they couldn't be there. You lost a dear friend, a sibling, you had a car accident, a near-death experience, an insult by someone you thought was a friend, a betrayal. All these things are sources of trauma. And this bush you see here represents the many petals of the chakras beneath it. And on every trauma you have is registered, it's written. The trauma is registered or imprinted on one of the leaves of your other chakras. It stores the memory, like a leaf of a book on each chakra's petal leaf. So the goal is to help humans not have trauma, to de-traumatize, and to heal, and not be stuck in your hurt, wounds, and trauma. Very important. Think of all the things that have hurt your feelings. Where'd those feelings go? If you didn't take therapy, they're sitting right there on those petals of those leaves in your chakras, exuding and festering and fuming and polluting your present relationships and present experiences and present confidence. There's one more thing about these chakras I want to talk about. Not these, but this particular chakra. the fifth chakra. So we saw here, there are 16 sounds. There's one sound in the middle, which resembles the Superman symbol a little bit to my eye, but not quite. This is the sound hung, 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 hung. Like I hung my coat up in the closet. Hung. And there are 16 sounds that go around. Ing, ring, 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 ing, ha. Okay, 16 sounds. So you combine the sound hung with these 16 sounds in a specific way, they start to de-traumatize you. Your traumas begin to melt away. And they become, how do I say this? You know when you have something rotting, before you see it, you can smell it. So the ether, the akash, is like that vibe, you get that kind of rotten feeling, that kind of weird, decaying feeling, smell that you can detect before you see the thing. So the thing emits a kind of foul space. When you chant these sounds in a specific way, it cleans out the rot, cleans out the decay in your traumas. And if the third eye is given the proper initiations, you're not afraid to remember and face your trauma. It won't traumatize you to go back and look at what happened to you. Sometimes you can be traumatized by seeing someone else go through a trauma, watching an accident, watching someone die, watching someone commit suicide. That can also traumatize you. Maybe you didn't go through the trauma, but you beheld one, you witnessed one, and that could be also very mentally disturbing. So this chakra links with the planet Jupiter. So we look at the planet Jupiter in your chart to see how well the fifth chakra is doing. What are the karmas of this chakra? I look at where Jupiter is in your chart, particularly at something called its luminosities. There's a feature in astrology called the luminosities of the planet. That's very revealing. It's a technique I have not taught publicly, but it is a major one I use to determine the condition of that planetary chakra. And if Jupiter is well in your chart, you tend to be drawn to very healthy spaces, healthy homes, healthy healers, healthy doctors, healthy revitalization of the body, healthy mates, healthy towns, healthy moments in history. You have luck with that. You feel there's a sense of grace, of a guardian angel, protection, good fortune that follows you, this kind of aura of angelic protection. When Jupiter is harmed in your chart, you feel you're alone, you have no luck, you never win, nothing works out for you, nothing's going to be good enough for what you need. Life is uninspired, there's no meaning, there's no purpose, there's no bliss in life. And you're always going into negative spaces, getting robbed, getting hoodwinked, getting beaten up, getting your heart broken, being in spaces where there's gun shooting or there's these kinds of things will happen more often than normal. Okay, or you stay in a negative mental space, negative emotional space, or your body can't heal, the cells can't regenerate, you cannot sleep. These are all signs of a negative Jupiter, which shuts the throat chakra from its. The chakras, you have every chakra center, the throat, for example, has 3 sets of chakras. There's 7 chakras in the middle of the throat, 7 on the left of the throat, 7 on the right of the throat. The middle ones are perfect. They are flawless. They're these lights, eternal purity. The left and right ones can be dimmer, duller, muddier. They can change. But you see, the middle line of chakras are perfect. So you know how to be perfect. It's built into you. You're wired to radiate the perfect light. But when you go left or right, off from center, the chakras on the left or right of center may have lost their balance and become dulled or blackened or grayed or fuzzy. Okay? My point is, you're already perfect, but you fell left or right from perfect. You fell off from center, and that's why you feel the imbalance. The way I teach the chakra work is to tune you into the central chakras, which pull the other two back into balance, forming a triangle like a pyramid, because you have chakras in the middle, the apothem, then you have the left and the right angle, forming a triangular shape of interrelationships and interconnections. Okay? So, if you're in therapy, but you're not cleaning out, see, most therapy in the West is what kind of therapy? Talk therapy. The throat chakra. The therapist talks to you about your challenges, your traumas, your problems, and helps you purify your memories, your experiences through the counseling. This is what I mean. The throat chakra is like an internal therapist who listens to all the other chakras' problems and helps those chakras find a way to become functional and healthy again. But what therapy does not do is clear out the deepest subconscious impressions of the events. Meaning, you may talk therapy your way through something, but what the Hindus call the samskaras, the imprints in your space, may still carry the Akashic record of that. So you need occult psychology, words of power, these mantras, these words of power to help power blast, sterilize the space that held the trauma. You see, you have a trauma and it's stored in a space, like a drawer. You have socks, but they're in a space called the sock drawer, right? You may have Versace socks in there, but the drawer is full of mold. You see, the space affects the thing in the space. So you keep buying new socks, new socks, new socks, but then they become molded because the space they're in is molded. So the throat chakra clears out the drawer. So no matter what socks you put in there, they'll stay the socks you meant and wish them to be. Okay? So stay tuned for announcements about this class I may be doing this year or maybe next year, because I really want to help people with their trauma. The more and more I look at the world, personally, it breaks my heart because what I see is trauma upon trauma upon trauma. There's physical trauma, emotional trauma, mental trauma, trauma from your home. You may have mold. You may have a busted septic tank. You may have bad feng shui. Trauma from your neighborhood. It could be dangerous. It could be not well lit. It could be in a flood zone. Trauma, political trauma. Trauma from your government. Trauma from the Congress. Trauma from the police. Then, of course, there's the cosmic traumas, which that could be things like time for a plague, time for a meteor. And I have come to realize more and more that spiritual psychology is what I'm teaching. I like to call it more psychology than spirituality, but it's like divine psychology or higher spiritual psychological education. I've come to realize that the purpose of spirituality, psychology, is to remove trauma from people, remove trauma from their souls, and teach them to turn trauma into triumph. From trauma to triumph. I might write a little book about that one day, or maybe do a video called From Trauma to Triumph. The power of spiritual psychology and words of power. So, I pray you enjoyed this little tutorial on our chakras and such, our chakras here, and how they're actually structured. I'm hoping to give the world a clearer understanding of chakras, that they came from Africa. The Kamau knew them very, very thoroughly, and the Hindus took that knowledge from the Kamal and made a brilliant secondary version of the chakras of Egypt. And that to realize you may all have trauma, insult, hurt, and wounds, and that's okay. And there's a divine psychological method, very methodical, very quantitative, to help you shed those imprints, have a golden inner space, as we said here with this image, golden inner space, golden inner space, not a gray, gloomy inner space, so that you can have the best in life. That's the goal here. So I'm moving in a more directly pragmatic approach to my teachings, to these philosophies, to really help people in the trenches, people who are suffering. And I'll speak very soon, I think, about chakras in terms of child rearing, because a lot of things we're doing culturally are killing our chakras in the womb. The embryos and the babies in the womb are being tortured through intrauterine trauma and cultural trauma the first 3.5 years of life. And if you miss those, if the uterus experience and the first 3.5 years of life are not very carefully guided by divine psychology, you will wound your chakras almost irreparably for your whole life. What happens from insemination to about 3.5, that 9-month period in the womb, and then 3 years or so out of the womb, those time frames will forever imprint the rest of your life on earth. And the way we're raising children and dealing with mothers and the birthing process, all these things really wound and traumatize the flowers within the child's chakras, the lights in the child. So I'll discuss that soon enough, I believe, in the very near future. So with that said, Dwa'u, I pray this really did help you. And remember, no matter what happens to you in life, always look up. Why? Because you are a star. Dwa and Hotepu.